Ladies and gentlemen, our last session, we have as guests a panel of young leaders, and I'd like to invite them up on stage now. Ms. Kannimuri Karunanidhi, Mr. Vikram Akula, Mr. Sachin Pilot, Ms. Preeti Zinta, Mr. Yasin Malik. If you could please all join us on stage. To steer this leg of our journey, we have one of India Inc.'s most articulate champions who has dreamt, imagined and made it happen, transforming a stodgy conservative outfit making tractors and off-road vehicles into a multinational corporation with a presence on several continents. Mr. Anand Mahindra, Vice Chairman and Managing Director, Mahindra & Mahindra.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. When Mr. Arun Puri asked me to chair this session, the Youth Forum as he called it, sort of evoked mixed feelings in me, Arun. It took me back to, I think, the first time you asked me to participate in the conclave, and I think I was billed as a young businessman. Of course, I'm not introduced in that fashion anymore, but I have to say when I got this invitation to chair a youth forum, I think your message was very clear. You know, to look in the mirror and to recognize finally which demographic segment I belong to right now. And it did hit me the way you wanted to. I immediately checked my superannuation account, my Mediclaim, my life insurance. I've been doing that for the last week. But something smart in what you've done, I guess, because they say that the old believe everything, the middle-aged suspect everything, and the young know everything. So I think it's an excellent choice to have a middle-aged, suspicious person like me trying to extract the knowledge from this panel here. But that was the depressing part. The mixed feelings I referred to, the good part about this was really looking at this panel. And what was exciting to me was the composition and the experience of this panel. I really felt like one of those American talk show hosts, you know, who inevitably come up and say, I've got a great show for you here tonight, you know. So ladies and gentlemen, we have a great show for you here tonight. Because we have a cast of characters here who, really all of whom have made their mark in a variety of different fields. They've all succeeded in everything they've endeavored to do. And in a sense, because of the diversity of their professions and their ethnic background, they really are a microcosm of India. But a microcosm of the India of tomorrow, not the India of today. And we all know the demographics. 50% of this country is under 25 years old. So frankly, no conclave of this nature can ever be complete without hearing these kinds of voices, without giving vent to this segment of society. But I'm also told by my moles in India today that this is somewhat of a first to have such a large panel here, I think. And I believe the decision to have this panel was not made without some trepidation. There was some concern that, you know, this is going to go all over the place, I believe. And how will we get anything to make sense? And I sympathize with that, Arun. I think that is a great concern because of the rich diversity in this panel. It probably is going to be hard to come out with a very focused or common roadmap or some kind of convergence on the road ahead, let alone a common agenda, if you will. But that's the downside of a panel like this. The upside is that I think we could possibly leave this room after hearing the members of the panel here, and after we hear them articulate how they want to change the world, I think we could leave with a picture of a mosaic that is India, a mosaic that highlights and showcases India's momentums, its pressure points, its pulls and pushes, and above all, India's hopes and aspirations. I would like the audience to really reflect then at the end of this whether the sum of these views, as you hear them, even without some kind of grand convergence, can really be greater than the individual parts. Just to introduce the format, what I'm going to do is I will briefly introduce each speaker just before I request them to make some opening remarks for a maximum of 10 minutes, and they can make them from the podium or sitting here, whichever you prefer. And I know each of them is far too intelligent to try and placate us with some beauty pageant statements about world peace. But at the same time, I do want to request the panel that, without in any way constraining their inner voices or what they want to say, just to try and make a credible mosaic by the end of this. If there are some common threads that we can divine, I would request you to, of course, tell us how you could change the world. And please presume that you do have the power to make that change. So tell us how you change the world, but then I do want, as you said earlier, Preeti, we should come to India. And how does India, a changed India, fit into the context of that changed world? And then I would request you to be practical. We don't want 30 ideas. Tell us the 1 or 2 or 3 things that you would do if you were in your first day in the office as president of the planet. And I would really request all of you to look at their checklist of change, and then in the Q&A session, please co-conspire with me. In your questions, please keep them focused and brief. Indicate who you'd address the question to, and do ask them to elaborate on their agenda, on their checklist, their priorities. Don't, for example, ask Preeti what her next movie is going to be. Ask her, what's the movie plot playing in her mind today, where the hero is India. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get right down to it. I'd like to begin by introducing Kanimoyi Karunanidhi. She is a Tamil poet, journalist and politician. She happens to also be the daughter of the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Karunanidhi. She started her career with the Hindu newspaper before editing a Tamil weekly magazine, and she's conducted programs in Sun TV and Vijay TV, and is a features editor for a Singapore-based Tamil newspaper. She writes Tamil poetry and has translated the works of other Tamil poets into English. She became a Rajya Sabha member in 2007. She's a strong supporter of pan-Tamil issues, in particular Sri Lankan Tamils, and has organized Tamil folk art festivals, one of them called the Chennai Sangamam. What I find personally fascinating about her is that she obviously bears all the burdens of being part of a political dynasty. But I think from her resume, it's very clear that she's found her way to put her own individualistic stamp on everything she does, on her life. So Kanimoyi, may I please request you to make your opening remarks, and if you'd like to come to the podium or you'd like to sit there with you.
Vanakkam and good evening everybody. Actually, when they said if I could change the world, Sachin and I were discussing, it sounds like a Miss Universe contest more than a conclave. But of course, all of us are here because we believe that we can change this world and we have to change it in some way. It can be small or big. If I can change the world, what would I really want from the changed world? I would want a world free of wars, violence, poverty and fear. I would want freedom from hunger and illiteracy to the millions of children in the world. Freedom from inequality, suppression and lack of opportunity. Sometimes the lack of opportunity even to live just because you belong to the wrong gender. A poet from a war-torn region once wrote, "How can I explain to this child the beauty of the butterfly which comes to rest on the soft petal of a flower when all he knows is the sound of blasting bombs and how to run to bunkers to escape air raids?" This century has witnessed so many changes. The fall of monarchy as a political power. It has seen the rise and fall of fascism and Nazism, the creation and transformation of communism. And now we are witnessing the shift of power from west to the east. Today, the world has come to believe that democracy is the only way to go. But does democracy or development have any meaning if it does not remove inequality? Removing intolerance, tyranny, systemic social deprivation are all integral to the democracy which we all uphold. But does it have any meaning if we still haven't even sufficiently started worrying about our missing millions? Does growth mean anything when a UNESCO report says that India has the single largest number of newborn deaths in the world? Out of 9.7 million child deaths worldwide annually, 1/3 occurs in India. Can inclusive growth mean anything when we are still requesting the government to make anti-dowry laws harsher to protect brides against greedy husbands and in-laws? When a large section of society is still deprived of entering places of worship and are denied entry into streets of caste Hindus, Dalit children are deprived of schooling, discrimination in schools and denial of their legitimate right is still prevalent. They are even prohibited from drinking water from street taps. In this day and age, they still remove and carry human feces manually. There is more to the list, and we all know it. Can we change all this? Yes, we can. Perhaps not overnight, but surely if we put our minds to it, and more so our hearts to it, we can change it. For a positive note, I would like to give a true story. Deva Priyam is the director of Anavim Trust, a rural development organization that undertook relief efforts when the tsunami struck the coast of Tamil Nadu. Right after the tsunami, she says, we provided people in the area where the villages were with food, medical aid, and then temporary shelter. But while she and her staff labored to get aid to everyone in need, she never lost sight of particular struggles of women and children. Already, we were working with women and children before the tsunami because they were the most oppressed in this community. After the tsunami, initially most rehabilitation aid was given to men who received fishing boats, says Shanti. So we focused on the woman. She first helped women form self-help groups, community organizations, and then provided training to the group members in both job skills and how to run a business. In one highly successful joint venture of the trust, 3 self-help groups of Dalit women have come to own 15 30-foot fishing boats, which they rent out to local fishermen. Earlier, we used to work as laborers, and now we are the owners of boats, said Devika, a member. Now men and women are working on our boats, and we have confidence that we can own more. Now our other boat owners respect us as we are also owners, says Maragadam. The police, too, before they never used to take our complaints. Now, if the motor is stolen from our boats, they immediately take action, says Muthulakshmi. And with past hurts fresh in their minds, the women have taken steps to right some old wrongs. We feel that we treat our laborers better than we used to be treated, says Maragadam. Laborers now prefer to work with us because we always give them their fair share. So, this small step has gone a long way in a coastal village where the women were suppressed, where a whole community was suppressed, where the children could not get health facilities or education. A small step to change their lives has changed their lives, has brought economic change and social change in that village. So why can't we change the world? I'm sure we can. And let us all take one small step towards it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kanimoy, and thank you for being an excellent standard setter. You were well within the 10 minutes. Makes my job much easier. The next speaker that we have, ladies and gentlemen, is Vikram Akula. Vikram is the CEO and founder of SKS Microfinance, which he founded in '98. It's an organization that offers microloans and insurance to women in impoverished parts of India. And today SKS is one of the fastest growing microfinance institutions in the world. And I think as recognition of that, I think a lot of us would have seen that Vikram was named in 2006 to the Time magazine list of the 100 most influential people in the world. He's provided loans to nearly 2 million women since the founding of SKS. It leads the industry in the use of innovative technologies, and he's pioneered the use of smart card technology at the village level. Vikram worked as a management consultant with McKinsey & Company, which has incubated obviously a number of very brilliant people. He's been a Fulbright scholar in India, coordinated an action research project on microcredit. And finally, again, on a personal note, I don't think there's any global forum that I've been to where I've not seen Vikram's name on the roster of either speakers or where he's been discussed offline in terms of the work he's been doing and the impact he has. So in a sense, he's really the perfect brand ambassador, I believe, for a new and I think uniquely Indian form of humane capitalism. Vikram.
Thank you, Mr. Mahindra, for that nice introduction, and thank you for India Today for having me here as part of this panel. If I could change the world, I would end poverty. While we have many problems in India, the scourge of poverty is larger than any other that we face today. And I'm going to give you one statistic. 77% of our people, 836 million people, live and earn less than 20 rupees a day. Could you imagine trying to live on 20 rupees a day? It's a struggle that I witness every day among the poor people that I work with across the country. I see poor people not having enough to eat. I see them living in thatched mud huts. I see them suffering ill health. I see them having to put their children into bonded labor simply so they can get enough money to buy grain for that year. I saw this just last week when I was in a village in a drought-prone region of Telangana, and there was a boy, probably about 12 years old. It was the morning, so I asked him, is he on his way to school? He sort of sheepishly looked at me silently, and I probed a little bit further. He said, no, he's on his way to graze cattle for a landlord that he worked for. And I could see in this boy's eyes a sense of hopelessness, a sense of promises that will go unfulfilled. Now, the plight of this boy, his name was Narsiglu, is a disgrace. It's a disgrace for us as a nation and for us as individuals who benefit from economic growth in India today. Now, if I were to try and change this, I would do one thing. I would try to get people who benefit from economic growth, those of us in this room, to understand what it means to live in this kind of abject poverty. I would try to get people for one day to live the life of a poor person. If we do so, I am absolutely confident that there will be radical change in this world. If people didn't just drive by slums, but actually ventured into those slums, if the villages that we fly over, if we actually sauntered in and spent the night in one of those villages, then things would change radically. Because you can't see this type of poverty up close and not be moved. Now, my idea is nothing new. Gandhiji said this many years ago. Nearby at Rajghat, there's a statement of his, and I want to get this right, so I'm going to read it. Think of the face of the poorest and weakest person you have seen and ask yourself if the step you are contemplating is going to be of any use to that person. Now, if we followed those words, I'm confident that things would change radically. Because at the end of the day, we are a people who care. We are a people who are moved. We are a people in India who are driven by the heart. And I don't mean that that means all of a sudden we will go and give alms to the poor. What I do mean is that we will begin to try and understand what it is that poor people need and want. And what they need and want is an opportunity. And I'm going to read now the second part of Gandhi's statement from the same quotation, where he goes on to say, ask yourself, will the step you take be of any use to that person? Will it restore him to control over his life and destiny? Will it lead to Swaraj for the hungry and starving millions? The answer is embedded there. It is not about a dole or a handout. It is about enabling that person to have Swaraj, to have an opportunity to use his or her skills and talents to make a better life for themselves. And we do that every day at my organization, SKS Microfinance, where we provide loans and insurance to poor people. Not at a subsidized rate, not free, but at a market rate. And all we're doing is giving them an opportunity to use their skills and talents. And we do it without the support of the government, without donations. And what I would encourage all of us as citizens, as corporations, and as a nation, to think about how we can do that. How can we work to give people opportunities, whether that be in the realm of economic development as we're doing in SKS, or in healthcare, or in education? The possibilities to change the world are endless. For the government, that means thinking about how to harness the energy of the private sector and of civil society to make these opportunities available for everybody. For a corporation, it's thinking about how your products and services can be made available to the poorest among us. For an individual, it's about making a career choice that is not solely focused on money, but also about making a difference. And what makes me hopeful is that I see this happening across the country today. This morning I had a meeting with the CEO of a mobile device provider, and our single focus of the meeting was how can we develop applications on a mobile device that are useful for the poor. I've had conversations with new generation politicians, including Sachin Pilot here, about how to use the private sector to expand access to finance for the poor. And I recruit staff, we have 7,000 across the country, from B schools, who are willing to take the financial sacrifice and not work for a job that will give them the highest monetary reward in order to be in the hinterland, to work amongst the poor and provide them opportunities. I see this every day. And that gives me tremendous hope that the vision of ending poverty in our lifetime can be a reality. And I'm confident that this new generation is going to be able to bring about that change. Thank you.
No, not right now. I'm sorry, this is not the moment for you right now. Can somebody give him a cup of tea? I think if you could show the gentleman the door, I'd appreciate it. Please show the gentleman the door. What's miraculous is this room doesn't even need a mic, it's apparent. I can hear him loud and clear from there. Arun, you don't have to spend that much on electronics next year. Okay, Sachin, I didn't think you expected this much drama before I introduced you, but I don't think it's... Anyway. Sachin Pilot, ladies and gentlemen, is a Congress MP from Rajasthan. At 26 years of age, he became the youngest member of parliament in the country. He is the son of the late Congress leader Rajesh Pilot, another member of a very venerated political dynasty here. He was educated at the Air Force Bal Bharati School in New Delhi and graduated from St. Stephen's College, Delhi University. While in college, Sachin was the captain of the college shooting team. He received his MBA from Wharton Business School. He's currently a prominent leader of the Gujjar community in Rajasthan, member of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Home Affairs, and a member of the Consultative Committee in the Ministry of Civil Aviation. As you know, Sachin, I knew your late father well, and I greatly mourned his demise. And I've been watching Sachin, ladies and gentlemen, from afar with great expectations, and I'm very pleased to say that none of those expectations have been belied so far. Sachin.
Thank you, Anand, for the introduction. It's a great pleasure to be here this afternoon. I was looking at the brief that was given to us by India Today on the topic that we're supposed to deliberate on today. It had a lot of words in it. It was inequality, indifference, poverty, terrorism, corruption, etc., etc. And how is it that I and all of us, if given a chance, could change the world? There's so much to be said and done in 10 minutes, and I had a variety of thoughts on this. So I will try and pack all of it into the 9.5 minutes that I have left. And Anand, if I'm either awfully boring or I cross the 10-minute limit, please feel free to pull my kurta from the back and I will stop immediately. To change the world is such a grand thing. To be asked to say how you will do it, philosophical, imaginary, magical, there's so many ways to put it. What I thought I would do with this 10 minutes of mine is tell you briefly about a few things which are tangible, which are numerical, which bother me sometimes, and I would put it on a wish list if I, us, or any of us had the power or the genie lamp to change it. Please imagine this. The top 3 richest people in the world have a combined wealth which is greater than the poorest 48 nations on the globe. And I learned this recently. What is spent in the war on Iraq in 1 week, in 7 days, that amount of money is enough for an effective intervention on the global climate change as a whole. What we would need to eradicate starvation, malnutrition in the world, to put every child in a school across the globe, to have every single person to have access to sanitation and clean drinking water, to effectively reverse malaria and typhoid, we would need $69 billion US. To put that in perspective, China last year spent $60 billion on its defense budget for 1 year. How do we change that? I don't know if I could, even if I did become the Prime Minister or President, Anand. And the second question I would ask you is, how much majority will I have and how many parties will I have to run the coalition? Coming closer to home, I'm a politician, I fight elections, I campaign, I do politics, it's my profession, and I'm quite proud to be one. If something I could change about this setup is politics and governance, to be fair to everyone, to put a balance on it, I would recommend to everyone that in our political life, we should have 70% of our time on governance issues and leave 30% for politicking. It's important. It's our job. We love politicking. That's what we do. 30% of our time we should do politics and 70% of our time we should do governance, good governance. Another suggestion I have is when we have elections in this country, whether it's municipal elections, panchayat elections, Zilla Parishad elections, state elections, by-elections, general elections, every year is an election year. Every budget is an election budget. We should try and have all the elections at one time. It saves time, energy, money, resource, effort, and I think people can then save the rest of the 4.5 years to do things that are more important for government. A big problem, I think, which is not debated enough, and I'm plucking these thoughts from a variety of areas, so please excuse me if it's all over the place, but I think they're very, very important issues. Drinking water. We don't talk enough about it, we don't legislate enough about it, and in the fear of having opposition, in the next few years, and I'm telling you, one of the biggest crises we will face is of portable, clean, safe drinking water. I wish if I had the power to legislate. In my state of Rajasthan, one has to dig up to 800 feet to get drinking water. I think broadband connectivity and Wi-Fi can wait 6 months. But a woman who carries 2 children on her hips, 2 miles to get drinking water, we have to legislate to make it a fundamental right in this country that everyone must have access to at least clean drinking water. Sanitation, education, and all follow on. Another thought I had when I was told that if you were in charge for one day, what would you do? It's a thought and suggestion, I don't know how well it will be received. If you could somehow put an end and ban to all the hoardings and the flex hoardings and the posters that we have for social organization, for religious organizations, for political organization, they're all over the city, they're all over the country. I think this serves no purpose. We don't win votes by putting up hoardings. Nobody gets benefited. It's a colossal waste of time and space and money. I think in our country, we are sensitive to many sections of society. There's scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, OBCs, minority, majority, etc., etc. But I think a large portion of our population is what I call differently abled. Not disabled, but differently abled. I think we have to legislate sooner than later that all trains, all planes, all automobiles, all government offices, all buildings must have access for the physically challenged people. It's a pity to see in railway stations when a healthy man and woman can't get on a train. How do you expect a person who's physically challenged to make that train? It's a pity and it's sad that we have to live with that reality. Manual scavenging. We have a law against it. I don't know how well it's enforced, but in 2008, 21st century, 8.5% GDP growth, fancy 5 stars, malls, 8-lane highways, toll plazas, we still have our fellow citizens doing manual scavenging. What will it take to put an end to that? Not a law. It has to be a movement. It has to be an effort by NGOs, civil society, media, politicians, anyone who thinks that this is degrading for human beings to do that. I'm running close to time, Anand. Okay. I think if we could, and I know this is a tough one, if we could segregate religion from politics, it would serve the country a great deal. I think religion is a matter of personal choice, and religion should be confined to our homes and hearts. I don't think we should wear our religious beliefs on our sleeves. And I also believe that means when you talk about changing the world, it's not about shifting mountains or changing the course of rivers. The world is made up of people around us. And what we need to do, and I think to my mind is the greatest challenge for us, is to change these human beings. To bring about a positive change in perceptions, in postures, in minds, in the myths, in the biases, and in the beliefs. Time has told us, history is witness to this. We are the world's wealthiest society and civilization. But are we the wisest? Are we doing enough? What is in our power? And I also believe that by 2025, we will have a workforce of 900 million people, the largest single workforce on the planet. And I believe the concept, and I've given a term to this, and I call it the ovarian lottery. Why should your caste, your region, and your religion, and the womb that you take birth from dictate how much you will study, who you will marry, what line of work you will join, what kind of job you will take? We have to bring a paradigm change in that system. I think I'm going to end with a thought that as we try and change the world, it's important for us to realize And I realize this, that I will face pressures and challenges in time to come in my lifetime. But just like the rest of young India, we have to hold our head high to live and believe in our principles and our convictions so that in our endeavor to change the world doesn't end up changing us. And I'll end with a very small prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, and the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Thank you very much.